Now, I had pretty much ignored John Kasich because to me something was wrong. He was a bit off. And now, I'm even more convinced that, number one, he's delusional. And two, just look at him. He kind of acts, he acts funny. I mean, Trump, for all his, his craziness, at least he comes off basically, as a quasi, if you want to call it that, rational person, even though his ideas aren't rational. And Cruz, presents himself in public as, somebody that basically, appears to know what he's talking about, even when he doesn't. But Kasich, Kasich just, Kasich gives me pause. I mean, Kasich seems like he's a super nervous person, and he's just not smooth. So anyway, I'm going to play this clip from Meet the Press, and I'll comment at the end.
Yesterday, I was joined by Ohio Governor and current Republican presidential candidate John Kasich, and I started by asking him about the Brussels attacks and why he thinks so many Republicans who have voted in the primaries agree with calls from Trump and Cruz to not just ban Muslims from entering the United States, but even introduce extra surveillance in Muslim communities in America.
I think when they see things, it makes them very concerned and very nervous, and so it's sort of a knee-jerk, I think, Chuck. But let's talk practically here. In order for us to have great human intelligence, I want the public to hear this, we are going to have intimate communication and coordination with our friends in the Muslim community. There is no question about it. I mean, in order to find out about the radicalized friends and neighbors or people that you may not even know at all who you observe doing things, this has to be a coordinated effort worldwide. One other thing I want to say, Chuck, that is that I think that we ought to have a dramatically reformed NATO.
All right, now as far as that first portion of it, I don't have a problem with that because you do need the eyes and ears of people within the community. If they see something going on, you're going to need their help in order to try to keep this crap down. Now, as far as the NATO part, I could give two shits about that, but there are other people that have made comments that we need to keep a strong NATO. So anyway, I'll let him make his comments there, and I'll skip on to his next subject.
Right now, we think of NATO as a military organization. I think it needs to involve itself in policing and in intelligence gathering, because when we look at Europe right now, we find there's so many holes and an inability of their ability to get their act together.
But you've got a Europe right now where every country feels as if it's every country for themselves. I mean, we talk about the rise of nativism and nationalism in this country. You have it in every Western European country right now, sort of a similar pattern here, where there's distrust of their own allies. They're concerned about sharing their economic wealth with other less with more economically challenged countries. It seems like Europe's about to break apart.
Well, look, either we hang together or we hang separately is really what the message from a good leader is. And Chuck, this is a little bit of a different illustration, but in our state, whenever we have a difficulty somewhere, almost our entire cabinet shows up. I have told them all that we work together to solve a problem. We can't have silos. We just have to work together. That is what the President of the United States needs to communicate to our allies around the world. And frankly, it's got to include our friends in the Arab Muslim community. We cannot beat this unless we do this, strengthen ourselves militarily, destroy ISIS, and begin to have a message out there, particularly by the Muslim imams, about the fact that this is not tolerable. This is murder, and it's not acceptable in our civilization.
You were pretty critical of the president for not cutting short his trip in Cuba and immediately coming back to Washington. Should he do that after every single terrorist attack? Because he also shares your belief that you can't overreact to every incident, or you unnerve the public.
Well, look, I would say, Chuck, when you have an attack in the heart of Europe and you have this kind of slaughter, if I were president, I'm just telling you what I would do. I wouldn't have gone to a baseball game in Cuba. I would have come home, I would have called all the world leaders, I would have gathered my intelligence and military experts, and I would have sent them to Europe to sit down to assess our vulnerabilities. I mean, I'm not overreacting here, but you also can't underreact. When somebody says we ought to ban all Muslims from coming in, that is a statement that it's not based in reality. I don't even know how you would do it. And secondly, we can't be out there aggravating the very people whose cooperation we need. But in terms of the president in Cuba, don't go to a baseball game after this happened. You come home.
All right, so on all of that, as far as overreacting and underreacting, the president did everything that this guy basically said. He met with his security people, he met with his intelligence people, he called all of the foreign leaders. He did all of that from Cuba. So the only thing he didn't do was come home. So, you know, I'm still not understanding what the big deal is as far as having to hop on the first thing smoking and head back to Washington to do the same things that you were able to do while you were sitting elsewhere. So, you know, again, this guy, he drives me, you know, he's scaring me. I'm just going to be honest with you.
All right, let me ask a politics question. Ted Cruz's campaign has repeatedly called for you to get out, saying a vote for you is a vote for Donald Trump. Now, we went through this last week. If you thought your position in this race strengthened Trump, would you get out?
Now, watch this. He doesn't answer the question because realistically, a vote for him is a vote for Trump because Ted Cruz basically is the only one that really can potentially catch Trump, and probably not even then. But if this guy were to receive the nomination, the Republican base would more than likely go crazy, and for sure all of the Trump supporters would go crazy. But he can't see it. So his total focus is on himself, and he's going to claim that, yeah, he's the only one that can beat Hillary, but he forgets the people didn't vote for him. So he's basically wants to go against the will of the people who basically voted for either Trump or, you know, Cruz, with a few people voting for him because, you know, he's won one primary. That's it. Trump's won whatever, I think 18, 19. I think Cruz has won like 8 or 9. And he's won 1. So what makes him the one most qualified to represent the people when the people didn't vote for him? That's not representative.
Chuck, I'm beating Hillary by 11 points. I'm the only one that can win in the fall. And as you notice, the narrative over the last week has been, what is wrong with the party? Kasich's the guy that can win the general. Some people have said Kasich would be the best president. I mean, get out for what? If I'd have gotten out, Trump would be the nominee. He would have won Ohio. And frankly, we'll win some districts in Wisconsin. We will move to Pennsylvania.
Now listen to him. He didn't say he was going to win Wisconsin. He said he was going to win some districts in Wisconsin. And also, he's going to go to Pennsylvania. He's not going to win in Pennsylvania. Trump's going to win in Pennsylvania. He knows, you know, he's just going to claim, you know, he's claiming that they're going to win some things here and there. That's not a winning strategy. He's hoping and praying to stay in the race until the convention and then have well, we call it a brokered convention or a contested convention. And he's claiming that after the first ballot, when people get cut loose, that there's going to be a coming to Jesus moment and everybody's going to flock to him. And that just ain't going to happen.
Where I'm basically in a statistical tie with Trump, and when we go to New York and everywhere else, we're going to pick up delegates. So
you're not going to win in New York.
It's absurd. You know, if you really want, let them consolidate behind me because...
Now that's stupid in itself. Why would the leader and the second place guy want to consolidate behind you? You need to consolidate behind them. But anyway.
Frankly, I'm the one that can win in the fall, and I'm the one that can get the crossover votes. So
right. This campaign...
Happy Easter.
Yeah, there you go. The campaign tone has been, every time you think we've hit a low, it goes lower. You've based your whole campaign on not participating in that. So I get that. I know that's going to be one part of your answer. But can Ted Cruz or Donald Trump do something about this? Or is this all a Trump effect? What do you make of this?
Well, first of all, Chuck, families have to be off limit. I mean, you cannot get these attacks on families. And if this becomes the order of the day, what kind of people are we going to have in the future that are going to run for public office? There's got to be some rules, and there's got to be something that gets set there, some decency. And frankly, Chuck, at the end of the day, you know, it's what we need to do is we need to have programs to lift people and not diminish people. And that's what we're seeing a lot of happening. But look, it's a long way to Tipperary or a long way to Cleveland. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
And you still are committed to supporting Donald Trump if he's the nominee?
We're going to look at it every single day, and we'll see what happens. When we've got a long way to go, and I don't want to project that he's going to be the nominee. I don't think he will be, and if he is, there'll be, I review it every day.
All right, so so he's walking back like a lot of other Republicans are walking back as far as their commitment to support Trump if he's the nominee.
Just going to say, it sounds like it's more hesitance every day.
I said what I said, Chuck, and I'm done talking about this subject.
Fair enough.
So that's a crazy, well, I don't know, maybe possibly delusional John Kasich.